Police Minister Senzo Mchunu visited Hanover Park in the Cape Flats and met with community members over high levels of crime in the area due to gangsterism. The minister promised to work with communities to fix dilapidated police stations and avail more policing resources to address gang violence. To talk to us about the community's perceptions of the new minister and the expectations, we are now joined by the Cape Crime Crisis Coalition's Llewellyn Macmaster. Llewellyn, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this morning. How do you view the recent visit by the Minister of Police in the Cape Flats, and in response to the heightened gang violence that exists there, what do you believe are the key priorities and challenges that need to be addressed in tackling this issue?
Thank you, Katlego. I walked away yesterday, of course, with mixed feelings, but definitely a sense that maybe it's a new broom that wants to sweep clean, as they say. But there were some positive takeaways for me from the engagement. I think the stakeholder engagement in itself was part of the priorities that the minister listed last week. And when I listened to him last week, I was encouraged by that, because I think crime, and in particular gangsterism, cannot be solved just by the state. I think community, civil society involvement is crucial if we want, to move forward to sort of bring lasting solutions and hopefully eventually eradicate gangsterism, as the minister has also said yesterday. So the priorities, I think one cannot find fault with it. There is one criticism for many, unfortunately, is that it still looks as if it's business as usual. But one has to understand that, because the problems and challenges that we are facing in the community with regard to crime are not new. Some of these things, in particular gangsterism, has been part of communities now for many decades. So, but what we wanted to hear is at least, a sense that the minister understands that, secondly, that he has the political will to tackle these things. And the understanding part is crucial, because he has to look at all the attempts that failed to bring about change. And these things are the things that community members actively involved in community police forums and other civil society formations raised yesterday. I think the minister would have gone away from Hanover Park and having an understanding of the concerns, the frustrations, and the challenges that the community face. And it's on different levels. And of course, the time was not enough because when they stopped the community members from speaking, there were still a number of hands up that wanted to be heard. But of course, time was a bit limited in the end.
Right.
Although it was a couple of hours that we were there.
Well, I mean, Llewellyn, you speak of some positive takeoffs and a bit of criticism with it looking as though it's business as usual, even with this new broom that has come in to give in a clean sweep. In your view, what do you think are the underlying factors contributing to this persistence of gang violence in the Cape Flats? And what strategies or interventions do you think could effectively combat these challenges and rather promote community safety and well-being?
Yeah, I think there was, for me, one sense that I listened to the minister when he responded, and he indicated that he's heard what a number of us were saying, that this is not something that can be solved, only by police. He himself, in his response, mentioned, the Ministry and Department of Social Development. I think we all know the close link between what we are fighting. The police must be also strengthened and assisted by the Department of Justice. In other words, if police do their work, there must be the assurance that those whom they arrested will eventually, land up in court, will be sentenced, and then the correctional services comes in, how to keep those people there, how to cut off their channels of influence, because many of them from within the prison are still actively involved in, in gangsterism and drugs and so on. I think maybe what I hear the ministers saying, and for me that's positive. He started off by saying, that government must be seen as one, even though you have the different levels of government. And he made a point, because that is part of the community's frustration in the Western Cape, that there was always this, to and fro, blaming between provincial and national. And yesterday the minister made it clear this must end. And the accusation of lack of political will that we have leveled against the government in different issues, maybe he addressed it in that positive way. So we're looking forward to that. He spoke about a think tank where you will invite some of us who raise the issues concerning, the broader issues that keep crime and gangsterism going. I think in his response, he missed, for me, a bit of the close link between gangsterism and the illicit drug trade, because a lot of the fighting are about territory, gangs fighting over territory for their drugs. The influence of international syndicates. I think we have read in the newspapers the involvement not so long ago, or still, of Colombian syndicates coming in, and this is another aspect. So there was one point where I felt the minister have listened, but he still misses the point when he made the commitment, and it's the first time that I've heard a politician, minister, even the police, from the police side, saying that we want to engage gang leaders. And he said it, we have to bring these gang leaders together and speak to them and give them a message. And I said, wow, this is new, because there's always been the stance, no, we don't we don't negotiate with gangs. So we'll see where that goes. But and I said it to the minister, if you don't understand, the real causes, because a lot of things has to do with symptoms. The real causes of gangsterism, you are setting yourself up for failure. And so hopefully the think tank and other engagements, he's promised that he, when somebody stood up and spoke about Menenberg being almost like the breeding ground for gang leaders, he said, we will go there. And the lady who spoke from the community said, we need a heart-to-heart in Menenberg, and he's promised to follow that up. So I think we want to give him a chance. The question is, will the communities again be disappointed, after this
Right.
engagement.
And speaking on that, I mean, it's interesting that you do raise in terms of the factors that contribute to this underlying gang violence. There's some of the international infiltration. I mean, you make reference of the Colombians. There's been speculation with the Chinese and the avail in exchange for drugs within some of the Cape Flats communities. Do you think that the community members of the Cape Flats still have faith and trust in the police?
What I heard yesterday is, there were voices of appreciation. And it came from people, again, who has been involved, who's giving their time and their lives also, because people really put their lives at stake when they get involved with anti-gangsterism and anti-crime initiatives and so on. And I think, with that in mind, I think we can move forward, but we must also be realistic about that. There's no quick fix to solving this. And as we say, if the department continue to work in a silo, it will not be able to solve the real issue of crime, because the mention of the criminal economy is real. As I always say, the existential question for many people living in poverty and challenged by gangsterism and all these social factors comes back to this existential question: who is putting bread on our tables? And so we need a multidisciplinary, interdepartmental approach to this. It is not something new. I mean, every bit of research into crime and gangsterism has pointed out that it is not just a police matter. Many times there's operation this and that, and it works. There's limited success. Sending in the army is a short-term thing. But it is not the solution, because again, gangs have evolved, and I always mention this particular point that during one such operation where the army was sent in, a gang leader or drug lord was interviewed in the newspaper, and he said, "No, we are laying low because we know the army will not be here all the time, but we are here, and we know the people, and the people knows us." So it is complex.
It is.
And so you feel positive, but as I say, I also left with the sense, I wonder if the minister really understands the deep rootedness of the problem.
Llewellyn, we are running out of time, but just very quickly, I mean, you say there is positiveness, and we are seeing just a bit of a divide amongst the community members themselves. I mean, you have those mothers who will form human buses while walking their children to school to avert stray bullets that could possibly hit these children when they go to school. On the other hand, you have a situation where community members were attacking police that had come in to assist them. What level of education and cohesiveness are you working towards in ensuring that communities engage together in fighting crime in your areas?
Yeah, and that is in particular one of the objectives, intentions of the Cape Crisis Coalition, that we want to impress the critical role of communities in solving crime, and again this because of the deeply rootedness of gangsterism in communities, and of course in terms of our wider South African society, the breakdown of the moral fiber of society. This when people protect gangs, it is just a symptom of that deeper level of it. But we have to start somewhere. And the other thing is, for me, we have to be consistent and persistent in our efforts. We cannot, every time react. And that was one of the points that came out yesterday when somebody stood up and say, let us stop being reactive and start being proactive. So the community has a role. As a pastor, minister, I always use the image of a two-edged sword. So one cut to the side of the state, but the other edge is towards us as community to start programs and whatever to change the perception that the police is our enemy and the gangsters and drug lords are our friends. It's going to take time. We must be very honest about that. But we are committed as a coalition to bring voices together, to appreciate the work that so many have been doing over many years and consolidate that so that we can see positive results.
Of course, positive results is what we're certainly hoping for, especially with the new minister in the police ministry. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. That was Cape Crime Crisis Coalition's Llewellyn Macmaster speaking to us there about the minister's visit to the Cape Flats amid the flare-up of violence in that area.